Hi, everyone. I want to say good afternoon, but I know for some of you, it's much earlier than afternoon, and for some of us who are connected, it's much later. So, greetings to everyone, and welcome to the information session on the One Ocean expedition. My name is Sheila Downer, and I am the Strategic Northern Liaison at Memorial University's Harris Center, and also the Vice President of Northern Community Engagement with the University of the Arctic. And it's my pleasure to be moderating this session today. We're thrilled to have attendees from across Canada and also have some team members from Norway joining us in this session. The primary purpose of this session today is to provide information on an exciting education opportunity that will blend interdisciplinary learning with hands-on ocean research and sailing experience. But before we get started in the information session, and I would encourage all of you to give tribute in your thought and in your personal awareness to the traditional ancestral lands on which you are all learning, working, and meeting today. I want to acknowledge that I am working from the traditional lands of the Innu and Inuit of Labrador, and that the lands on which Memorial University campuses are situated are in the traditional territories of diverse Indigenous groups. We recognize and respect the histories and cultures of the Beothuk, the Mi'kmaq, the Innu, and the Inuit of Newfoundland and Labrador. So we're excited to share details about the One Ocean expedition. This is a collaborative effort between the University of Tromsø, the Arctic University of Norway, UArctic, and of Memorial University. And as I mentioned earlier, this initiative offers students the chance to be part of a unique learning experience, combining Arctic research with an accredited course while sailing through the Northwest Passage. So the session today is going to provide an overview of the expedition and of the course that will be taught on board the sailing ship. We will explain the application process. And most importantly, I think we're aiming to address all of your questions today and provide some guidance on next steps. We've pulled together a well-informed team, and we aim to address all your questions, as I said, but there are still some matters that are being finalized. If for some reason, we cannot provide you with a definitive answer to your questions, we will get the answers and we'll provide a response on the FAQ section of the website on the Memorial University's website. So before I introduce our first presenters, a couple of things I want to highlight for all of the participants. We encourage you to ask any and all questions that you might have. You will see at the bottom right of your screen, there's a Q&A function. Please feel free to type your question in there and we will address them in order. If you prefer to use live audio to pose your question, please raise your hand and we'll ensure to open your mic so you can proceed with your question. I will call your name. I will do my best to direct the questions to the appropriate team member to respond. And just as a reminder to all of you, this session is being recorded. There were some interested participants that couldn't make today for a number of reasons. So are recording the session and a link will be shared via email with all registered participants after the event. So I'm pleased to have with us a panel of key team members. And to start, I'm happy to introduce you to Yasmin Bedour and Melania Barrett of the University of Tromsø, and Dr. Maxime Jeffroy of the Marine Institute of Memorial University. And I'll turn the session over to them to provide an overview of what to expect on the expedition and details on the Arctic Future Pathfinders course. So over to you.
Thank you for the introduction, Sheila. I can just share my screen here. So maybe I can also quickly introduce myself. So I'm Yasemin. I'm working at UIT as a coordinator for this for the cruise, and I also want to acknowledge that I live and I'm situated in Sapmi, the land of the Sami people. I'm going to start with explaining a little bit about the One Ocean expedition in general. So the One Ocean expedition is kind of it's a expedition that is kind of that works on this ship, this Norwegian tall ship Statsværd Lemkul, and it toured in between 2021 and 2023 across the whole world. And during this circumnavigation, there were several courses carried out on board of the ship, and different legs or different parts of this circumnavigation were chartered by different institutions from the public sector mainly. And this is kind of the expedition from 2021 to 2023. And the main goal of the expedition was basically to raise awareness of the crucial role that the ocean has. So starting this year in April, the One Ocean Expedition 2 will start. And so you can see the whole, oh, actually I realized I didn't share the presentation mode. Yeah. So the One Ocean Expedition 2 will start in April, and UIT, so our university, has chartered this leg which goes from Nuuk through the Northwest Passage down to Anchorage. And this is kind of what we are informing you about now. So there will be a course titled Arctic Future Pathfinders, and this course will run twice, so runs from Nuuk to Cambridge Bay, and then there will be a crew exchange in Cambridge Bay, and then we will travel all the way to Anchorage. And there will be around 60 participants, student participants, for each of these legs, with around 20 to 30 teachers and from different disciplines. So those who join the ship will quickly realize that it's a very kind of close community kind of living for 1 month. You become kind of an active part of the crew, and we all help maintaining the ship and actually make this a safe voyage for everyone. So I think that's kind of a little bit the broad umbrella of this whole thing. And now I can hand over to Maxime about the situation in the Northwest Passage.
So a bit about what you can expect in the Canadian Arctic, other than the lack of privacy from the boat. In terms of the just a brief overview about the Northwest Passage, I like to say that there's not one Northwest Passage, but there are Northwest Passages. So on the map here, you can see that the different routes are possible. There's a northern route that is usually ice choke all year long because it is covered in multi-year sea ice that drift from the north. So the main passage is really from the southern route that you can see on that screen. We'll probably there are a few meanders that we can take there, but because of ice condition, we will probably be more on the western side of this channel. So going from Baffin Bay to Beaufort Sea. Next. Again, this southern route is generally opened for a short time window, but there's less sea ice than in the north. That's probably why we're gonna go through that route. And the ice starts melting in June and starts forming again in early October. So again, the time window to go across these, even the Southern Passage, is relatively short. Next. Just so that you are aware of the conditions that we might experience, as you might know, the maximum of ice cover in the Arctic. So here's a view of the North Pole and of the different. It's in a central Arctic Ocean view. In the middle, you have the North Pole. You have the Northwest Passage Passage on the bottom left in northern Canada. And what you see is that it is covered, as I mentioned, in March at the maximum ice cover, but the ice melts over the summer, and then the minimum ice cover is in September. But if you look correctly, so there's still some ice, even though it's melting and decreasing because of climate change. There's still some multi-year ice in the north, around the North Pole, but it's more and more mobile, and some of it drifts south and can get into bottlenecks in the islands of the Canadian archipelago and across the Northwest Passage. So you can see that there are still some small white patches along our route there. So we might experience some sea ice along the way. Next. Another thing that we might experience is Arctic fauna. So that's a map of the hotspots of marine mammal concentration. So as we're going to leave Western Greenland and go across Baffin Bay and northern of Baffin Island, we might encounter some of these hotspots. These are areas where you have glaciers. You have higher cliffs, you have fjords in these areas, and they are quite productive for endemic marine mammals in the Arctic. Then we're going to go again southwest, and then we're going to enter the Queen Maud Gulf area in southern Victoria Island. This area is a bit more shallow. It's not as productive. Usually you have less marine mammals in the center of the Central Arctic Ocean, less life in general. The islands are more flat. And then as we move towards the Beaufort Sea and the Amundsen Gulf, we start having high abundances of marine mammals and wildlife again. And the main reason for that is because of it's a very productive area, mainly because of the input from a large river there, which is the Mackenzie River. That brings a lot of nutrients and makes the area really dynamic, and it creates a lot of wildlife, very productive area, and it brings a lot of wildlife. Next. And just to make you aware also that as we're going to cross the Northwest Passage, we're going to cross two main areas that are part of the Inuit Nunangat, so the land of the Inuit in Canada, Nunavut and Inuvialuit. You have about 40,000 people, 45,000 people that live in Nunavut, most of them Inuit, and then about 4,000 people that live in Inuvialuit regions, again, most of them Inuit. So not high density of population, but definitely it's an area that is used and being lived in by some people that have been there for thousands of years. And my next slide shows the different Arctic network of Inuit trails in the region. So even though we, as people of European descent, for most of us, we are we don't have a long history in the regions that have been explored in the past few hundred years, but over a few thousand of years, the Inuit have been using the area we're gonna cross for as part of their hunting and fishing grounds extensively, and we can see that here. So it's just to make you aware of kind of area and regions we're gonna cross and what we can expect, and yeah, it's gonna be a good adventure for sure.
Okay, then it's my turn to present a bit about the course. So thank you, Yasmin and Maxime. Let me share my screen. You see my presentation? Yes. Okay. Yeah, let me start by presenting myself. My name is Melania Borit, and I'm the course coordinator. I have this honor, actually, and I'm so happy that they chose me to organize this course. I work as professor in methodologies for interdisciplinary research at UIT, the Arctic University of Norway. And as Yasmin, I live and work in the areas of the Sami indigenous people here in northern Norway. We are both based in Tromsø, which is above the polar circle, which is something quite interesting actually to when we talk to our colleagues and friends from all over the world. I think that's a very interesting thing to say when we live here in Tromsø. And yeah, it is, I'm originally from Romania, not from Norway. So for me, it's always interesting to talk about the North and talk about the city and how we experience here all the seasons that are very different from my own original country. But I'm not here to talk about Romania or Tromsø. Let's talk about the course. So Arctic Future Pathfinders, a journey through the Northwest Passage. The course at least in Norway, it's counted as a 10 credits course. The administration at Memorial University will be able to explain how many credits this translate into for you, if any, right? But for UIT, this course is open for master students and PhD candidates. Again, the details for who can apply for the course through Memorial University will be given by the administration there. The focus of the course is on two main sets of skills, inter and transdisciplinary collaboration skills and anticipatory skills. And I will explain in the next slides what is meant by this type of skills. The course is open for all disciplines. 1 second, please. So the course is open for all disciplines. Number of seats per discipline is relative to number of applicants, with the exception of underrepresented disciplines. The main message of this line here is that actually anybody or everybody is welcome to apply, regardless of their discipline. The course is open for participants from UIT, the Arctic University of Norway, and selected UArctic and partner universities. So you will meet there among the participants, people coming from several universities. The course starts in June and finishes in November, December, with August and September taking place on board a vessel. And the course will run twice, going back to what Jasmine presented earlier. So there are 2 legs of the journey from Nuuk to Anchorage. The journey is divided in 2. First leg from Nuuk in Greenland to Cambridge Bay in Canada, and then the second one from Cambridge Bay to Anchorage in the US. And the course will run twice, first leg and the second leg. It's written here that the course starts in June because actually our learning management system, Canvas, opens in June, and there will be some activities, around 1 week of work for participants before actually boarding the vessel. And the boarding of the vessel will happen either in August or September, depending which course or which leg you are registered to. And the course finishes in November, December, because after you come back on land, after you're on board, then there will be around 1 more week of work for you to finish your portfolios and all your exam files and submit them by a certain deadline in November or December. This is not decided yet. As I said, there will be some activities before and after the cruise. The assessment will be a portfolio, so a group of files that you'll have to submit. Some you'll have to work on by yourself, but some will be group work, and you'll get the pass or fail, so no grades. Then, as I said, administrative details will be communicated by the advisors at the Memorial University. Now I would like to quickly just explain what is meant by the 2 big groups of skills that I mentioned earlier. So I will start with the interdisciplinary collaboration skills. These are abilities needed to integrate several unrelated academic disciplines and bodies of knowledge, if we talk about transdisciplinarity, in a way that forces these to cross subject boundaries in order to advance fundamental understanding, for example, create new knowledge, theory, or methods, and or to solve problems whose solutions are beyond the scope of a single discipline or area of practice. And if you would like a more visual explanation of this, we have here on the right side all these black dots. If you imagine that they are disciplines, they are connected to each other through the black lines, and all of them work towards solving an issue. The white dot, which is a goal, a common goal, which is set together by the disciplines, and it will be commonly solved together by all these disciplines. And what I like to, I try to make this even more visual, so I use this image. I don't know how old you are, but maybe some of you remember Metallica, this rock band. And here it is an image from a concert where Metallica, this rock band, playing together with a philharmonic orchestra. So they don't divide the time of the concert in 2. The first hour Metallica, second hour the Philharmonic Orchestra. They play together. So this is for me a good representation of interdisciplinarity. So working together, using their own tools, their own theories and methods and data, putting it together, integrating for one single holistic kind of knowledge creation session. If we go to transdisciplinarity, it is more or less the same, but we add now another body of knowledge. So if you look in the image on the right side, the white part is the non-academic knowledge body. So if we move to the same analogy with the Metallica and the Philharmonic Orchestra, imagine that we all join them on stage and we also play together with them. And that will be considered transdisciplinarity. So this being said, we can move to anticipatory skills. These are abilities needed to understand, anticipate, and prepare for future scenarios, challenges, and opportunities. These skills involve the capacity to think critically about the future, forecast trends, and envision multiple outcomes, enabling informed decision-making in uncertain or rapidly changing contexts. And how I like to visually represent this, like to help people understand what is special with futures thinking. I put it in comparison with design thinking. So if we look at the left side, design thinking, you start from today's world, you observe the world, you observe the needs, you identify the needs of today's world, you have ideas how to solve these needs, you develop some prototypes, and then you have a product that addresses the needs. So the thinking converges into one output. While with futures thinking, it's the opposite, you diverge. So you start from trends, drivers, and signals from the present, but then you imagine possible future worlds. So you imagine possible, probable, desirable, non-desirable scenarios, you analyze them and you critique them. So you look at them through different lenses. For example, look at the ethical consequences or the social impacts of the various scenarios that you have imagined. So this is just shortly about the two sets of skills that we try to equip the participants in the course with during the course. For a more detailed description of the intended learning outcomes, you can go on the website of the course. What I would like to underline here is that while you are on board the vessel, as Yasmin explained, you will be part of the crew. So it's crew work, course work. Hopefully you also be involved into some research, and all this will happen in a community of quite a large community, will be around 100 people on board. So we'll have there the crew members, the course participants, and ideally a third of the course participants would be also with the indigenous or local background. We'll have the teachers, we'll have assistants, research assistants, teaching assistants, and also indigenous mentors. We will have 2 elders with us in each leg, one Sami person and one person from Nunavut. And together with the teaching staff and the research staff and the crew, we hope that we will manage to create together with you a memorable experience and a memorable learning experience. So just so you know, there will be, this is a ship and we are somehow part of the crew. So we'll all be divided in shifts. There will be the white shift, the blue shift, the red shift, and all of us will have to work 8 hours per day, divided in groups of 4 hours. And in addition to this, there will be 2 hours of teaching. So you'll have to be with your mind on to work for 10 hours. And then the rest you have for any other kind of activities that you want to have, including sleeping. Sleeping is quite important. And these are just some pictures, a little bit to show you how, what kind of activities you have to take. I mean, what being part of the crew, what it means. And then the hammocks in which you will sleep. And yeah, this is all from me. This is the website of the course if you want to read in more details the description of the course, the intended learning outcomes, the teaching methods, and a little bit more about the assessment. So now I will stop sharing. And maybe
That's
there
great.
are questions. Yep.
Thank you. I see we do already have questions. It all sounds, I'm not a sailor, but it sounds very exciting. And I wish that, kind of wish I was a sailor, looking at the pictures especially. So I see we have 3 questions. So the first one is, does the expedition include stops in the communities? So Melania or Maxime, either one, I assume. one of you might take that question.
Well, there's I mean, I can let the others complement, but there's a stop planned for sure in Cambridge Bay for the crew change, and there will be an activity there. And that's the only one that I'm aware of is guaranteed. There's talks for maybe another one in Joe Ivan, but that may be ice dependent. Is that correct, Yasmin?
Yeah, so I can maybe add, so we plan to do open ships with the communities in Nuuk and in Cambridge Bay. Yeah, and as Maxime said, Haven is a little bit unsure if we will make it there or not. And immigration will be into Canada done in Pond Inlet, so it will be a very short stop. And then into Alaska, immigration will be in Nome, which will also be a very short stop.
Very good, thank you. The next question is, will Inuit ambassadors be on board the ship? I can respond to that but Maxime or Yasmin or Melania, if you also know the information, I'll turn it over to you and let you respond. Yasmin?
Yeah, so yes, there will be, so as Melania said, there will be 2 elders, so 1 on each leg from Nunavut. And then we will have 1 elder on each leg from Sapmi, a Sami person. Then we also will have 1 Indigenous mentor from the Indigenous People Secretariat of the ICC on each leg. Yeah, so there will be people on board.
Thank you. The next question is a very practical question, but important nonetheless. And the participant says, might be a trivial question, but what do we eat while on board the voyage? Is it mostly seafood?
I guess, I mean, everyone will eat the same, I guess. But we will, of course, ask for the diet restrictions of people. So we would definitely need that information. And so the ship is usually loaded with supplies in the ports. So it will not be only seafood, but I've heard that people like to fish, and then that also sometimes lands on the table. But yeah, I don't think that will be a big problem.
Very good, thank you. The next question is, what if someone is unable to join the crew while he or she is attending the course? I assume the schedule will be done by, you mentioned that it was shifts, so I assume that it would not, it wouldn't conflict with their crew work as well.
Yeah, so the shifts, so it's like this. So there is a permanent crew, of course, on board of the ship, and then we are kind of additional kind of crew members. And so the thing is that it's kind of a safety issue so everyone needs to muster for their shift. So you're kind of assigned to a shift in the very beginning of the cruise, and then you have to appear when you have to muster, because it's just that the crew also needs to know for safety reasons who is on board and who makes it to the shift, or maybe someone is seasick or can join, so that they kind of have the overview. So everyone has to muster. But then, of course, it depends very much also on your own abilities, or your own kind of the way you want to be included in the whole work. Because, for example, we also have to rig sails, for example, in the or pack down sails in the ship. And that you can, for example, only do if you can do a pull-up yourself, which is also a safety issue. I didn't manage, so I'm kind of working on my pull-ups right now. But yeah, so it's definitely that everyone should muster at the beginning and the end of their shift. That's a safety issue.
I see there's a couple of questions related to the application, and I'll just, we'll wait until the next presentation on the application to pose those questions. But the next question is, can you describe more what kind of research will be taking place on board and how students might be involved? Maxime or Melania, maybe?
Yeah, if it is fine for you, maybe Yasmin, I can say some words, and if you want, maybe add. So the staff, the university staff which will be on board is quite diverse. So we have with us colleagues from, at least from UIT, from all the faculties at our universities. So from our university. So we have people doing research on in health sciences, in biology, in CIs, physics, in learning. So all of these colleagues of ours have a short kind of research plan, and then we'll see how much of the research plan they have, how much can be in a way, how much of this fits to be performed also with the help of the students. So we'll have a kind of mapping of what tasks from the research plans are suitable for students, and then we'll see actually, we'll map this against the interests and the possibilities of the students. So it might be because it will be 60 students per each leg. It might be that not all the students will have research tasks to help with, but we will try to connect researchers with students as much as it is possible, but we cannot actually promise.
Okay, thank you. For the next question is for the course parts that are before and after the expedition, will they be to do on our own time or on a set schedule with live sessions?
Most likely it will be on your own time.
On your own time. Okay. Thank you. The next question is, will we spend time in Greenland outside of our time on the boat?
Should I answer that question?
Yes, Jasmine.
So, so the plan is that we arrive in Nuuk on the 3rd of August, and then the ship leaves, and we will stay 2 nights on board the ship, and then the ship leaves on the 5th of August, and there will be an open ship event on the 4th. So, yes, I mean, of course, you can walk around when you're in Nuuk, but I don't know how much of activities this includes, or what the question, if the question meant like doing large excursions, day-long excursions, no. But yeah, sure, like walking around in Nuuk, of course.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, wow, this expedition sounds absolutely incredible. Will we have the opportunity to collect samples, water and sediments during the journey? Melania? Maxine?
Oh, did you want to go, Yasmin? Or? No, so basically there is science. As you've seen, the schedule is quite tight. So there's stations that are planned for science. Activities include water sampling with CTD. There would be also zooplankton nets. There's some acoustics on the way as well that is being done. There would be social science that would be done as well with the communities and the people on board. And I'm not sure for the sediment samples, though. Maybe Yasmin know for that. But yes, there are some stations on the way.
Yeah, but if I can add to that, like you can take your own samples. Like it will be mostly helping the researchers taking the samples. And I mean, I don't know, maybe there's some collaborations possible. But so the main reason is that we have to, of course, apply for research applications, research licenses beforehand, and we have to state very clearly what type of research we do and what type of samples we take. So there will be not much space for like opportunistic sampling in that sense. Yeah.
The next question is, are there arrangements to transport participants back to their respective locations since the expeditions are not scheduled to end at either Norway or Canada?
Yes, so participants will be transported back from Anchorage. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The next one says, I remember reading something about talking to our program coordinator. Is that just to say we are interested in the program, or would there be any details that are also need to be included? So I think this will get addressed in the next presentation regarding the letter of reference from your supervisor or your program coordinator. The next question is, are there specific activities or sessions planned to integrate perspectives from Indigenous and local knowledge holders?
I can answer that question. Yes, we plan for such activities, and they will be taken regularly and often.
Yeah, the intent is to have a diverse mix of participants along with the Indigenous elders. So certainly the perspectives from the Indigenous knowledge is important, I think, to the whole learning process. What kind of work does the course imply before boarding the ship? Readings, preparing a project, other?
Yeah, exactly that. There will be some reading, there will be some filling in some questionnaires, filling in some information that will be shared among the whole course participants, so we get to know each other better before going on board. So a bit of information about ourselves as people, as humans, but also about our research interests and interest in general. And I said readings, right? And yeah, so going through some material, some reflections writing, some short exercises, and the same will be also after the course, or maybe after the course will be much more focused on actually finishing the portfolio items for the course evaluation.
Mm-hmm. What specific research is being conducted?
I think we answered this before with we have colleagues from all of the faculties.
Are the Inuit elders selected from the high Arctic? That is the general intent. The opportunity is being discussed with partners, and so it's being offered to elders in the Arctic. At this point, I guess the level of interest remains to be seen, but that's the intent, yes. The next question again is one of practicality. I'm wondering how much sleep we will get a night in a practical sense.
I've just calculated on the sheet that, on which I showed the shifts, and there one could get a minimum of 6-7 hours of consecutive hours of sleep, but they will not necessarily be in how to say it, in the regular night, right? Because of how the shifts are organized. But one could sleep 6-7 hours together.
Good, thank you. At the crew change location, Cambridge Bay, are participants responsible for booking their own flights from their home location to Cambridge Bay, or the reverse?
The reverse.
How much storage is allocated to each passenger on the ship?
So that will be around 70 liters. So everyone has a locker of 70 liters. And when you bring your stuff on board, it should be in a duffel bag, so not in a hard case suitcase. Yeah, but there's some additional extra storage for like boots or heavier equipment. But yeah, so one should try to stick to 70 liters personal equipment.
Okay. Do we have to pay our own plane ticket or get to the departure point and returned? The plane, as I understand, the plane ticket is covered as part of the costs that's covered by the partners of the initiative. What are some of the financial costs involved? And would travel be covered? That's another, again, But are there, anyone want to, Yasmin, do you want to address what other types of financial costs might be involved for the participant? So I know that food, transportation, those are covered, but any equipment or special equipment will be the responsibility. Any additional insurance, I know, would be the responsibility of the participant.
Yeah, I'm also not, I don't know anything right now from the top of my head, but maybe we can also answer that question in written format later in
Sure.
more details.
Do that. Do we need a medical certificate before being on board? Yasmin, you want to address that?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, so you need a medical certificate from an approved seafarer's doctor. Yeah, so the link to that will be provided, I guess, with the information once, yeah, later, or I can also paste it in the chat. It doesn't matter. Yes, so you need a medical certificate.
Okay. Will we be required to do heavy lifting, or are there ways to accommodate those who may be limited?
Yes, definitely. I think it's no problem to accommodate those limited. Like, I'm a very unsporty person, so it's not it's no problem. Like, everyone can join the physical activities as much as to their own physical liking or ability.
Okay. Asking as a social scientist, am I allowed to use the field notes I would take on board for my own research?
I would say that I don't know, maybe you can also complement me here, Yasmin or Maxim, but I think any kind of research, at least for our master students, any kind of research they want to do has to be in a way discussed with their supervisor and be in line with all the regulations in the respective university and the respective country. So if you were the person asking, if you were my student, I would actually go through your research questions and see if we have to comply with what do we have to do in order to comply with all the rules at UIT and Norway. Yeah, but I see that Chris has something that maybe he wants to say.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to interject with a bit of a logistics matter, given the time frame that we have and things like that. Perhaps is it possible to kind of do that walk through the application now and then follow up with the additional questions afterward? I know Dana might have to leave shortly, so not to rush things, and I'd love to answer all the questions and things.
Oh, and there's a number of questions here that I think the application process will address many of them. So yeah, I was just about to say that, and any questions outside of the application process that didn't get answered, as I said earlier, we'll make sure that there's a response related to the question in the FAQ. So with that said, thank you, Chris, for giving us the push along. I want to thank Yasmin, Melania, and Maxime for that informative details and comments. And now we will move into the application portion of, and I introduce you to Dana Howlett and Mandy Rousel. So over to you to provide the overview on the process.
Thank you, Sheila. There we go, full screen. So greetings, thank you for joining today. My name is Dana Howlett. I'm an international programs coordinator here with Memorial University. So I'll be assisting on the application end in terms of collecting and gathering all of your documents if you apply and sending that on to the selection committee. So I'll go to the next slide, which essentially is just giving you a high level list of what will be required. We'll go into greater detail now in a moment to explain these pieces one by one. But of course, we want to highlight the deadline to have your application in. It is March 24th, 4:30. A note there that we are going to be asking our deadline to be observed by Newfoundland Standard Time. So if you're not familiar, we do have our own time zone. So that's important to be aware of, especially if you are in Western Canada. Okay, so next we'll go into the various pieces. The first is your CV. So this is a very standard document. You probably already have one of these ready to go. but we want sections on education, work experience, volunteerism, community service that you've engaged in, a list of your skills, publications if you have them. That would be quite helpful to have a list of those as well. Any awards or honors that you have received, and if there's any additional information that you think would be relevant to this particular experience. You will be prompted to upload and share with us a sample of your work. So it is one piece, and the document should showcase, relevant work or interest in this particular field. You've heard extensively now on the presentation exactly what's going to be studied and the variety of topics being covered. So we'd like to see something like an academic paper, a creative project, technical report, could also be a presentation that demonstrates skill, knowledge, and interest in this particular area. And ideally, it should be from the past 3 years. Okay. Andy, would you like me to keep going there? Oops.
Oh, sorry, everyone. Some technical going back and forth from presentation mode. Yes, I'll take over now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone. Just 1 second, I'll get this back up. Sorry, everyone. All right. Okay, so yes, so something else you'll need, and I noticed some questions on this in the Q&A, is your letter of reference. So you should have an academic reference. So this can be your supervisor if you're a graduate student, or it can be any faculty member, any professor that you have taken maybe a few courses with, someone that you know can speak to the kind of skills that are being looked for here. So you want them to be able to speak to your motivation, your adaptability, your academic skills, any personal qualities that really show how you will be someone that can thrive in this scenario and that you'll be able to benefit from the experience. So it's important that you will be asked in the application to provide your supervisor, your reference's name, and email address, but we will not be reaching out to them directly. You are responsible for asking your reference to send their letter to Memorial's Internationalization Office. That's Chris and Dana's office, using this email address here, goabroad@mun.ca. And the deadline for them to receive that letter is the same day that the application is due, which is March 24th by end of day Newfoundland time, 4:30 p.m. All of this information, the email address, reminding you to reach out to your supervisor to prompt them to send the letter, that is all contained in the application. So you don't need to memorize any of this now, and we will be posting more detailed information on the website, but just to go over it with you for now. And another item you will need is your unofficial transcript. So you don't need to request this to the registrar's office or anything like that. It's very easily assessed through, for Memorial students, mymun.ca. This will take you to your self-service accounts. As you can see in the first computer graphic here, you just need to click on academic information menu. This will take you to another list of items, and you're going to click generate unofficial transcript PDF. And that's all you need to do. It will download a PDF transcript for you. It will look something like this, unofficial stamped across it, but that's fine. That's all we're looking for. It's a very detailed record of all the courses you've taken so far in your university career, with your grades, any awards you've won, things like that are all contained on this document. And everything should be in PDF form. Again, the application form will prompt you to use a PDF for these items. And then you have your statement of interest. So this is sort of like you can consider it like a cover letter. It should be about 500 words. So if you're typing that up in a Word application, that would be one single-spaced page or two double-spaced pages. You need to make sure that your name, your institution, and your student number are somewhere on the document, preferably on top, along with the title statement of interest. So this is just in case it gets separated from the rest of your application. You'll be prompted in the survey application with a large number of questions. I've just sampled some of them for you here, but it will be things like this. So we're going to ask you, how do you adapt to demanding environments? And how do you overcome obstacles? What skills do you think you have to make you well suited for this journey? What experiences have you had that make you well suited for this journey? How does your own research align with the course's objectives? How do you think this experience will contribute to your goals, to your growth, your academic, professional, and personal goals and growth? What skills or competencies are you hoping to develop? And then how does your background, perspective, and experience contribute to this diverse learning environment? So again, the application will prompt you to answer some of these questions, but it should take on sort of a casual, informal essay form. So you just want to provide us with that 500-word statement that lets us know really why you're interested in this, why you think you would be a good fit. And really that's what your letter of reference from your supervisor, from your professor should be doing as well. And I'm sure there'll be more questions about this, and we can take some of them now. But if you have any further questions, you can reach out to me or Dana. You can visit our website where we have just a ton of information for you all.
Thank you very much, Dana and Mandy. I see there's a long list of questions, and I know that the time that we have remaining in the session won't allow us to get to all of them. I see a number of them are related to questions about being an applicant, but outside of Canada. So if I might, I will address this, and I invite my team members to kind of supplement my response with any additional information that you think is important. But essentially, as far as we know now, and I guess I should preface it by saying that this wonderful opportunity is being funded through a number of channels, which includes Norwegian funding, Canadian government funding, donor funding, and each of those funding mechanisms have different requirements and stipulations attached to them. But as far as we know at this point, you must be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident within Canada to be eligible to apply. However, we are waiting confirmation from Global Affairs Canada on the Canadian funding portion of this. So a definitive answer will be posted on the FAQ site soon. Hopefully, Mandy, I don't want to kind of determine your work schedule by any means, but I know I won't be involved in preparing the FAQ. So I don't know if it's fair to say by the end of this week, we might have the FAQ posted.
Absolutely. Sometimes tomorrow it should be available on the website.
Okay. So I encourage you all to go there. So any questions related to eligibility in regards to if you are outside of Canada or not a citizen, current citizen or permanent resident at this point, then please view the website and look for the definitive response on that. Let me go down through some other questions here. I'm an international master student at University of Quebec. Do I need a visa to be on board? Again, I think that relates to what I just talked about. I'm graduating my undergrad this year and going into my master's. Can I still take this course if it's not counting for credit? Who would like to take that? I think that's something that I think it through the application stage. I'm not sure.
I think
what
maybe
the response
what we
might be.
can say on that is that we invite you to, if you respect the guidelines, we invite you to apply. There would be a selection process taking place soon after the application deadline, and we would consider different aspects of your academic, where you are in your academic career. There's also spots that are that will be promoted and kept for Indigenous participant as well. So that can be if you also tick that box. So in any case, we invite you to apply, and then they will be considered in the application process and by the committee.
Very good. Thank you, Maxime. We have a question here from a bachelor student who is graduating and will be in this term and will be doing their master's in the fall, and is asking if the reference should come from their bachelor supervisor or their master supervisor.
I can take that one. So it could be either or. I believe, Sheila, if I'm not mistaken, there are technically some flexibility there for bachelor students who have specific interest or research aligned with this area. So I think as long as you can find someone who is from an academic space and can give you a strong reference, that will be looked favorably upon.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Hi, Kim. Do you want to interject?
Yeah, Sheila, this is before you go on to your next question, looking at the time, I saw one of the questions there asks about whether sailing experience or expedition would be a benefit or an asset. I think maybe, I don't think Maxime covered it early, but maybe just a short brief about what it is actually like to be at sea on a boat like this, and that general expectation might be helpful for a couple of those questions if you want to address that.
If I may on that, I think the point there is also, so not necessarily for sailing, or of course, we invite you to put it in there. But as you've seen, it's a bit of a rougher expedition, in since you don't have much intimacy. You're required to do long hours. So this is the kind of place where we would ask you to provide other examples where you've been in conditions like that. Maybe camping, might be other activities. But we want to select people that would fit within that kind of setup, and it's up to you in your application to show us that, well, you'll bring interesting background to fit within that setup.
Yasmin.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that for the ship or for the sailing or being part of the crew, you don't need any sailing experience at all. Like, everything will be explained on board, and so the crew will completely take care of you and teach you. So you don't have to have that experience.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I see there's a question from someone who does not yet have a passport, and a Canadian passport is obviously required. And your passport must have at least 6 months before an expiry date, must be outside of the 6-month period during the journey. So this person is asking, they won't have time to get a passport before the deadline for application. And is it necessary to have one prior to applying? No, you just need to make sure you have a passport before the journey, of course. So in light of the time that we have, I assure you, as I said at the beginning of this session, that we will address all your questions. So in terms of next steps, the application deadline, as Dana and Mandy had pointed out, is March 24th. So the next steps are for you to, if you remain interested, and you are eligible to complete your application. It will be available from the website, but Mandy is also sharing the link to the application and the recording to this session. A review and selection process will take place following the deadline. There will be a selection and review committee, and the criteria will essentially be based on the content of your application. So focusing on assessment of the content that you've included around your motivation for applying, your academic involvement, and so on, and I guess the perspective that you will bring as part of the team. That will essentially make up the criteria for the selection process. And then notification of the selected students will be issued early April. There's a nomination process that Memorial University, through Chris and Dana's office, our internationalization office, that they will be completing to the University of Tromsø in Norway. So everything needs to be completed by April 15th. So you can be rest assured that the decisions will be made prior to that. So again, I need to close our session off. And to wrap up, I want to extend sincere thanks to all of you for attending and for engaging in the session today with your many questions. It was fantastic. Special thank you to our team from UIT, the Marine Institute, the Internationalization Office, and the Harris Center of Memorial University for sharing their information. Just a reminder again, the link to the recorded session will be sent out following the conclosure of this session, along with the link to the application. If you have any additional questions, you might see Lisa Goulet is part of the team here, and Lisa has put her email address in the chat here for anyone who has any follow-up questions. Please feel free to reach out to her. We hope the session has provided some clarity and inspiration for those of you who are interested, and we wish you all the best in your application process. Thank you very much to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.